She sat alone at the corner table, nervously smoothing the wrinkles from her dress, wondering if this blind date would be another disappointment. When the door opened, and a man in an expensive suit walked in, her breath caught, not because he was handsome, but because she recognized the scar above his eyebrow, the same scar she'd kissed 10 years ago, before he disappeared without a word. He didn't recognize her at first, his cold eyes scanning the restaurant with practiced caution. But when their gazes finally met, his face went pale. "Sophia?" he whispered. And in that moment she realized the boy she'd loved had become something far more dangerous than she'd ever imagined. If you're listening to this story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments what part of the world you're listening from. The rain came down in sheets over Portland, Oregon, turning the streets into rivers of reflected neon and headlights. Sofia Martinez stood at the window of her small apartment in the Pearl District, watching the water streak down the glass like tears she'd stopped allowing herself to cry years ago. Behind her, the sound of her daughter's laughter drifted from the bedroom. Emma, age 9, was video calling her best friend, their voices bright with the kind of joy that only children could manufacture from nothing. Sofia touched her reflection in the window, tracing the lines that had appeared at the corners of her eyes. 32 years old, and sometimes she felt ancient. The weight of single motherhood pressed down on her shoulders like a physical thing, constant and unrelenting. She worked 2 jobs, mornings at a coffee shop near Pioneer Square, evenings doing bookkeeping remotely for small businesses. The numbers always added up on spreadsheets, but never quite balanced in her own bank account. "Mom!" Emma called from the other room. "Can I have hot chocolate?" "In a minute, baby," Sofia replied, her voice softer than the rain outside. She turned from the window and moved through the small living room, past the second-hand couch she'd reupholstered herself, past the bookshelf made from cinder blocks and reclaimed wood. Everything in this apartment told a story of making do, of stretching dollars until they screamed. But it was clean, it was safe, and it was theirs. In the kitchen, she heated milk on the stove, watching it steam. The ritual was soothing, the hiss of the gas flame, the sweet smell of cocoa powder, the clink of the spoon against ceramic. These small moments were what held her together, what kept the past from swallowing her whole. The past. It always came back to that, didn't it? She poured the hot chocolate into Emma's favorite mug, the one with the cartoon cat, and carried it to her daughter's room. Emma sat cross-legged on her bed, her dark hair falling in waves around her face. She had her father's eyes, though she'd never met him. Sofia had made sure of that. "Thanks, Mom," Emma said, accepting the mug with both hands. "Are you going out tonight?" Sofia hesitated. Her best friend Rachel had set her up on a blind date, something Sofia had resisted for months before finally, reluctantly agreeing. It had been 10 years since she'd been on a real date. 10 years since she'd let anyone close enough to matter. "Just for a little while," Sofia said. "Mrs. Chen from downstairs will check on you." Emma nodded, blowing on her hot chocolate. "Is it a date?" "Sort of. Are you nervous?" Sofia smiled despite herself. "A little. You look pretty," Emma said simply, and Sofia's heart swelled with the kind of love that hurt, the kind that made everything else worthwhile. An hour later, Sofia stood in front of her bedroom mirror, second-guessing everything. She'd chosen a simple navy dress, nothing too fancy, paired with the one good pair of heels she owned. Her dark hair was loose around her shoulders, and she'd applied just enough makeup to look polished without trying too hard. Rachel had promised this guy was normal. A lawyer, divorced, no kids. Safe, boring probably. Exactly what Sofia thought she needed. The restaurant was in the Alberta Arts District, a place called Canard that Rachel swore by. Sofia took the bus, watching the city slide past through rain-streaked windows. Portland in October was all gray skies and falling leaves, the air sharp with the promise of winter. She loved this city, had lived here her whole life, but sometimes she felt trapped by its familiarity, by the weight of all the memories embedded in its streets. She arrived 10 minutes early and waited outside under the awning, watching people hurry past with umbrellas. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. "You've got this. He's a good guy, I promise." Sofia typed back a thumbs-up emoji, though her stomach was twisted in knots. At exactly 7 o'clock, a black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. Sofia's first thought was that Rachel's lawyer friend was doing well for himself. Her second thought evaporated as the driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Dark hair, touched with gray at the temples, And when he turned toward the restaurant, when the streetlight caught his face, Sophia's entire world tilted sideways, the scar above his left eyebrow, thin, white, barely visible unless you knew to look for it. She'd traced that scar with her fingertips a lifetime ago, had kissed it, had asked him how he got it. "Fell off my bike when I was 8, he'd said, laughing. This couldn't be happening. He walked toward the restaurant entrance, his movements controlled, purposeful. There was something different about him now, something hard in the set of his jaw, the way his eyes scanned the street with practiced vigilance. This wasn't the boy she'd known. This was someone else entirely. And then he saw her. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world stopped. The rain, the traffic, the distant sound of someone's car alarm, all of it faded into white noise. His face went through a series of expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, recognition, shock, and finally something that looked like pain. "Sophia?" His voice was deeper than she remembered, rougher, but unmistakably his. She couldn't speak. Her throat had closed up, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. "Dominic," she finally managed, and his name on her lips felt like a prayer and a curse all at once. He stood frozen on the sidewalk, rain beginning to darken the shoulders of his expensive suit. "What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "I'm supposed to meet someone. A blind date." Something flickered in his eyes. Understanding, followed by disbelief. "Rachel Simmons set this up? You know Rachel? She works at my firm." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Sophia's chest ache. "She said she had someone I should meet. She didn't mention. She doesn't know," Sophia said quickly. "About us. About before." "Before," Dominic repeated, and the word hung between them like a ghost. They stood there in the rain, two people who'd once meant everything to each other, now strangers separated by a decade of silence and secrets. Sophia wanted to run. She wanted to demand answers. She wanted to slap him and kiss him and scream at him all at once. Instead, she said, "We should probably go inside." Dominic nodded slowly. "Yeah, we should." The restaurant was warm and dimly lit, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs. The hostess led them to a table near the back, away from the windows. Sophia was grateful for the privacy, though she felt exposed in a different way, like every carefully constructed wall she'd built around herself was crumbling. They sat across from each other, and for a long moment, neither spoke. Sophia studied him in the candlelight. He'd aged well, better than well, if she was being honest. The boyish softness was gone, replaced by sharp angles and a kind of intensity that made her nervous. His hands, resting on the table, were scarred across the knuckles, fighter's hands. "You look good," he said finally. "Different, but good. It's been 10 years. I know. Do you?" The words came out sharper than she intended. "Because you disappeared, Dominic. One day you were there, and the next you were just gone. No explanation, no goodbye, nothing." His jaw tightened. "It's complicated. That's not an answer." "I know." He looked down at his hands, and for a moment she saw a flash of the boy she'd loved. Vulnerable, uncertain. But then it was gone, replaced by that hard mask again. "I couldn't stay. It wasn't safe." "Safe? What does that mean?" Before he could answer, the waiter appeared, asking about drinks. Dominic ordered whiskey, neat. Sophia asked for wine, though what she really wanted was to leave, to go home to Emma and pretend this night had never happened. When the waiter left, Dominic leaned forward. "I need to know something. Are you married?" The question caught her off guard. "No, divorced." The lie came easily. She'd told it so many times it almost felt true. Better than explaining that she'd never been married at all, that Emma's father was a mistake she'd made trying to forget someone else. "Kids?" Her hesitation was answer enough. "How old?" His voice was carefully neutral, but she saw the calculation in his eyes. 9, she said, and watched him do the math. "Sophia, she's not yours," she said quickly, firmly. "Don't even think it." Relief and something else, disappointment, crossed his face. "Okay." The waiter returned with their drinks, and Sophia took a long sip of wine, needing the warmth, the courage it provided. When they were alone again, she said, "Your turn. What happened to you? Where did you go?" Dominic swirled the whiskey in his glass, watching the amber liquid catch the light. "I went home. To Chicago. My father. He needed me." "Your father." Sophia remembered him mentioning his family once or twice, always in vague terms, always with a tension that suggested complicated history. "What does he do?" "He's in business. Import-export. The answer was smooth, practiced, and completely uninformative. That's not an answer either. He met her eyes, and what she saw there made her breath catch. Danger. Warning. A door she shouldn't open. No, he said quietly. It's not. They ordered food neither of them wanted, made small talk that felt like walking through a minefield. He asked about her work, her life in Portland. She gave him the sanitized version. The coffee shop, the bookkeeping, the small apartment in the Pearl. She didn't mention the nights she lay awake worrying about money, about Emma's future, about all the ways she was failing as a mother. He told her about Chicago, about the firm he worked for, though she suspected worked for was a generous description of his relationship with whatever organization employed him. He mentioned travel, business deals, the kind of vague details that revealed nothing. You're not a lawyer, she said suddenly. He paused, his fork halfway to his mouth. What makes you say that? Rachel said you were a lawyer, but you're not, are you? For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, slowly, he set down his fork. No, I'm not. What are you then? Someone you shouldn't be having dinner with. The words should have scared her. Instead, they made her angry. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to show up after 10 years and tell me what I should or shouldn't do. You're right. He leaned back in his chair, studying her with those dark, unreadable eyes. I'm sorry. For everything. For leaving. For not explaining. For all of it. Why now? She asked. Why are you here in Portland? Business. Of course. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Always business. Sophia, I should go. She started to stand, but his hand shot out, catching her wrist. His grip was gentle but firm, and the contact sent electricity racing up her arm. Please, he said. Don't. She looked down at his hand on her wrist, at the scars on his knuckles, and something inside her cracked. I can't do this, Dominic. I can't sit here and pretend this is normal, that we're just two people on a blind date. We're not. What are we? I don't know anymore. He released her wrist, and she sat back down, feeling defeated. The waiter cleared their barely touched plates, offered dessert menus they both declined. When the check came, Dominic paid without looking at it, leaving cash on the table. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and shining. They stood under the awning again, and Sophia was struck by the symmetry of it, beginning and ending in the same place, as if the whole disastrous evening had been a loop they couldn't escape. Can I drive you home? Dominic asked. I'll take the bus. Sophia, it's late. Please. She should have said no. Every instinct told her to walk away, to get on the bus and never look back. But there was something in his voice, a vulnerability that reminded her of the boy he'd been, and against her better judgment, she nodded. The Mercedes was warm and smelled like leather and expensive cologne. They drove in silence through the empty streets, past darkened storefronts and late-night diners. Sophia gave him directions, and when they pulled up in front of her building, she felt a wave of embarrassment at its shabbiness compared to the car she was sitting in. This is me, she said, reaching for the door handle. Sophia, wait. She turned back, and he was looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. I meant what I said. I'm sorry. For everything. Okay. And He hesitated, as if weighing his next words carefully. I'd like to see you again, if you'll let me. She should have said no. Should have told him to stay away, to leave her and Emma alone, to go back to Chicago and his mysterious business and his dangerous life. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was, I don't think that's a good idea. I know. He smiled, and it was sad and genuine and heartbreaking, but I'm asking anyway. Sophia got out of the car without answering, but as she walked toward her building, she felt his eyes on her back. At the door, she turned and looked at him one last time. He was still there, watching, waiting. She raised her hand in a small wave, then disappeared inside. Upstairs, Mrs. Chen reported that Emma had been perfect, had gone to bed without complaint. Sophia thanked her, locked the door, and leaned against it, her heart still racing. In Emma's room, she stood in the doorway, watching her daughter sleep. The nightlight cast soft shadows across her face, and Sophia felt the familiar ache of love and fear that came with motherhood. She'd built a life here, a safe life, away from the chaos and uncertainty of her past. And now Dominic was back, bringing with him all the questions she'd spent 10 years trying to forget. In her own room, Sophia changed into pajamas and climbed into bed, but sleep wouldn't come. She stared at the ceiling, listening to the distant sound of traffic, and wondered what she'd set in motion by agreeing to that blind date. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for tonight. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm hoping you'll give me one anyway. D." She stared at the message for a long time, her thumb hovering over the delete button, but she didn't press it. Instead, she set the phone down and closed her eyes, trying to ignore the way her heart had stuttered when she saw his name. Outside, the rain started again, soft and steady, washing the city clean. But some stains, Sophia knew, went too deep to ever truly fade. The coffee shop smelled like espresso and rain-soaked coats. Sophia moved through the morning rush with practiced efficiency, calling out orders, steaming milk, wiping down counters. The rhythm was soothing, mindless work that let her thoughts drift without consequence. But today, her thoughts kept circling back to the same place. Dominic's face in the candlelight, the scars on his knuckles, the weight of 10 years pressing down between them. "Earth to Sophia," her coworker Marcus said, snapping his fingers in front of her face. "You just put salt in that latte instead of sugar." Shit. She dumped the drink and started over, her cheeks burning. Marcus, a 23-year-old art student with a nose ring and perpetually paint-stained hands, leaned against the counter. "You okay? You've been weird all morning." "I'm fine. Just didn't sleep well." "Uh-huh." He didn't believe her, but he let it drop, turning back to the register as another customer approached. Sophia finished the latte, correctly this time, and handed it off, then glanced at the clock. 2 more hours until her shift ended. Then she had to pick up Emma from school, then home for a few hours before her evening bookkeeping work began. The treadmill of her life, endless and exhausting. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it, but it buzzed again, insistent. During a brief lull, she pulled it out. 2 texts from Dominic. The first, "I know you said it's not a good idea, but I can't stop thinking about you." The second, "Have dinner with me. Please, let me explain everything." Her fingers trembled as she typed back, "I need time to think." His response came immediately. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." That was what scared her. At noon, Sophia clocked out and caught the bus to Emma's school. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean and gleaming. She stood at the bus stop, watching cars splash through puddles, and tried to organize her thoughts. What did she want? What was safe? What was right? The problem was, she didn't know anymore. Emma came running out of the school building with her backpack bouncing. Her face lit up with excitement. "Mom, guess what? We're doing a project on family trees, and I need to interview you about our family history." Sophia's stomach dropped. "That sounds fun, baby. Can we work on it tonight?" "Sure." They walked to the bus stop hand in hand, Emma chattering about her day, about her friends, about the book she was reading. Sophia listened with half her attention, the other half still tangled up in thoughts of Dominic. At home, she made Emma a snack, apple slices with peanut butter, and settled her at the kitchen table with her homework. Then she retreated to her bedroom, closed the door, and called Rachel. "Hey," Rachel answered on the second ring, her voice bright. "How did it go last night? I've been dying to hear." "It was complicated." "Complicated how? Did he do something? Because if he was a jerk, I'll kill him." "I vouched for you." "No, he wasn't a jerk. It's just..." Sophia sat on the edge of her bed, choosing her words carefully. "We have history. We knew each other before." "What? Seriously?" Rachel's voice rose with excitement. "That's like something out of a movie. What kind of history?" "The kind I'd rather not talk about." "Oh." Rachel's tone shifted, becoming more serious. "Bad history?" "Not bad, exactly. Just painful." There was a pause. Then Rachel said, "He asked me about you this morning. Wanted to know if you were seeing anyone, if you'd be open to another date. I told him I'd ask you. But honestly, Sophia, if this is going to dredge up old stuff, maybe it's better to just let it go." "Maybe," Sophia agreed. But even as she said it, she knew she couldn't. After she hung up, she sat in the quiet of her bedroom, listening to Emma humming in the kitchen. Her daughter, her life, everything she'd built in the aftermath of Dominic's disappearance. She'd been 22 when he left, young and stupid and so in love she couldn't see straight. They'd met at Portland State University, both of them working part-time jobs to pay tuition, both of them dreaming of futures that seemed impossibly far away. He'd been studying business, though he never talked much about his plans. She'd been pursuing a degree in education, wanting to be a teacher. They'd spent that summer together, every moment they could steal, and Sophia had believed, truly believed, that they were building something real. And then he was gone. No note, no call, no explanation. Just empty silence where he used to be. She'd waited for weeks, calling his phone until it was disconnected, going by his apartment until a new tenant moved in. Finally, she'd accepted the truth. He'd left her, abandoned her, and she'd had to figure out how to put herself back together. 6 months later, she'd met Emma's father at a bar, a one-night stand born of loneliness and too much wine. When she found out she was pregnant, she'd tried to contact him, but the number he'd given her was fake, another man who disappeared. So she'd done it alone, dropped out of school, worked whatever jobs she could find, raised Emma in a series of increasingly better apartments until they'd finally landed here, in this small but safe space in the Pearl District. And now Dominic was back, stirring up everything she'd worked so hard to bury. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from him. "I'm at Powell's Books, the one on Burnside. If you want to talk, I'll be in the blue room. If not, I understand." Sophia stared at the message. Powell's was Emma's favorite place in the world, a massive independent bookstore that took up an entire city block. They went there almost every weekend, getting lost in the stacks, Emma picking out books while Sophia pretended she could afford to buy them all. He knew that. He had to. They'd gone there together, back when they were dating, spending hours browsing, reading passages aloud to each other, stealing kisses between the shelves. He was playing dirty, using their shared history against her. And damn it, it was working. She found Mrs. Chen and asked if she could watch Emma for an hour. The older woman agreed with a knowing smile that made Sophia's cheeks burn. Then she changed into jeans and a sweater, told Emma she had to run an errand, and caught the bus downtown. Powell's was crowded with the usual mix of tourists and locals, students and retirees, everyone seeking refuge in the smell of old paper and possibility. Sophia made her way to the blue room, which housed the fiction section, and found Dominic standing in front of the mystery novels, his hands in his pockets, looking oddly out of place in his expensive suit. "You came," he said when he saw her, and the relief in his voice was palpable. "I shouldn't have. I know." He pulled a book from the shelf, a worn paperback of Raymond Chandler's The Big Sleep. "You used to love these, the old noir novels." "I still do." He handed her the book. "Then let me buy it for you. Dominic, please, let me do this one small thing." She took the book, feeling the weight of it in her hands, the weight of everything unspoken between them. "Why are you really here? In Portland, I mean. It's not just business, is it?" He looked around, as if checking for eavesdroppers, then said quietly, "Can we walk?" They left the bookstore and headed toward the waterfront, walking in silence through the streets of downtown Portland. The Willamette River stretched out before them, gray and churning, dotted with bridges. Joggers passed by, along with cyclists and people walking dogs. Normal people living normal lives. "My father died 3 months ago," Dominic said finally. "Heart attack. He was 68. I'm sorry. Don't be." He was... Dominic paused, searching for words. "He wasn't a good man, but he was my father, and when he died, I inherited his business, the import-export thing, among other things." He stopped walking and turned to face her. "Sophia, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen without interrupting, okay?" Her heart started to race. "Okay. My father was the head of a crime family, the Russo family based in Chicago. When I left Portland 10 years ago, it was because he called me home. My older brother had been killed, murdered by a rival organization, and my father needed me to step up, to take my brother's place." Sophia felt the ground tilt beneath her feet. "You're saying you're in the Mafia. I'm saying I didn't have a choice. It was come home or watch my family destroy itself. So I came home and I did what I had to do to survive, to keep us together." His voice was flat, emotionless, but she could see the pain in his eyes. "And now my father's dead, and I'm in charge, and I'm trying to figure out how to get out without getting everyone I care about killed." She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. "That's why I'm in Portland," he continued. "We have business interests here, legitimate ones mostly. Real estate, restaurants, a few other things. I'm trying to transition everything to legal operations, but it's complicated. There are people who don't want that to happen, people who profit from the old ways. You're telling me you're a criminal. I'm telling you I'm trying not to be anymore." Sophia turned away from him, staring out at the river. A barge drifted past, loaded with shipping containers. She thought about Emma, about the life they'd built, about how fragile safety really was. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because I don't want to lie to you. Not again. If we're going to—" He trailed off, then started again. "I saw you last night, and it was like the last 10 years disappeared. Like I was 22 again, and you were the only thing that mattered. I know I don't deserve a second chance. I know I should stay away from you, but I can't. I've tried, and I can't." She turned back to him, and the vulnerability in his face nearly broke her. "I have a daughter, Dominic. I have a life. I can't get mixed up in whatever this is." "I know. Then why are you asking me to?" "Because I'm selfish. Because I've spent 10 years trying to forget you and failing. Because when I saw you last night, I remembered what it felt like to be human, instead of just this." He gestured at himself, at the expensive suit, the hard exterior. "I'm not asking you to be part of my world. I'm asking you to let me be part of yours. That's not how it works." "I know." They stood there in silence, the river flowing past, indifferent to their pain. Finally, Sophia said, "I need to think about this, about all of it." "Okay. And I need you to promise me something. Anything. If I decide to walk away, you let me. No following, no showing up at my apartment, no more texts. You let me go." He flinched as if she'd struck him, but he nodded. "I promise." She started to walk away, then stopped and turned back. "Did you ever think about me? In those 10 years? Every day," he said without hesitation. "Every single day." The words should have made her feel better, but they didn't. They just made everything more complicated. She left him standing by the river and caught the bus home, the Chandler novel clutched in her hands. When she got back to the apartment, Emma was waiting with her family tree project spread across the kitchen table. "Mom, I need to know about my dad," Emma said, looking up with those dark, serious eyes. "For the project." Sophia's heart clenched. "What do you want to know? What was he like? Why isn't he around?" She sat down next to her daughter, trying to find words that were true but not too true. "He was complicated, and he left before you were born because he had things he needed to take care of. But it wasn't because of you, baby. You're perfect. Do you think he ever thinks about me?" Sophia pulled Emma into a hug, breathing in the scent of her daughter's shampoo. "I think anyone who doesn't think about you is missing out on knowing the most amazing person in the world." Emma hugged her back, and for a moment, everything else fell away. Dominic, the past, the impossible choices looming ahead. There was just this, her daughter in her arms, safe and loved. But later that night, after Emma was asleep, and Sophia was alone with her bookkeeping spreadsheets, her phone buzzed with another text from Dominic. "Whatever you decide, I want you to know something. Leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done, and if I could go back and change it, I would." She didn't respond, didn't know how to. Instead, she opened the Chandler novel he'd bought her and read until her eyes burned with exhaustion, losing herself in a world of shadows and moral ambiguity, where the line between right and wrong was never quite clear, just like her life had become. The call came at 2 a.m. Sophia jerked awake, her heart hammering, fumbling for her phone in the darkness. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her press accept. "Sophia," Dominic's voice tight with urgency. "I need you to listen carefully. Lock your doors and windows. Don't open them for anyone except the police. Do you understand?" She sat up, suddenly wide awake. "What? Dominic, what's going on?" "There's been an incident. Someone connected to my business. Someone who doesn't want things to change. They know about you." Her blood turned to ice. "How?" "We had one dinner. They've been watching me. I'm sorry, I should have been more careful. I'm sending someone to watch your building, just as a precaution. His name is Marcus." "Wait, Marcus? Like my coworker Marcus?" A pause. "Your coworker works for me. Has for the past 3 years. I needed to know you were safe, even when I couldn't be here." The betrayal hit her like a physical blow. "You've been spying on me? Protecting you. There's a difference. Get out of my life, Dominic. I mean it. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't send your people to watch me. We're done." She hung up before he could respond, her hands shaking with rage and fear. Marcus. Sweet, paint-stained Marcus with his easy smile and his art school stories. He'd been reporting back to Dominic this whole time. How much had he told him? About Emma? About her struggles? About the nights she'd cried in the back room when the bills piled up too high? She checked on Emma, who was sleeping peacefully, oblivious to the danger that had just crashed into their lives. Then Sophia went to every window, every door, making sure they were locked. She pulled the curtains closed and sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the street below. A black SUV was parked across from her building. As she watched, a man got out. Not Marcus, someone else. Someone big and dangerous looking. He leaned against the vehicle, his eyes scanning the street, and Sophia realized with a sick feeling that this was her life now. This was what knowing Dominic meant. She didn't sleep for the rest of the night. In the morning, exhausted and wired on coffee, she called in sick to the coffee shop. She couldn't face Marcus, couldn't pretend everything was normal. Instead, she got Emma ready for school, walked her there personally, instead of letting her take the bus, and then came home and paced her apartment like a caged animal. Her phone rang. Rachel. Sophia, what the hell is going on? Dominic just called me, asking if you were okay, saying something about a security situation. He sounded really worried. Did he tell you what he does? Who he really is? He said he works in private security consulting. Why? Sophia laughed bitterly. Private security. That's one way to put it. Sophia, you're scaring me. What's going on? I can't explain right now. I need to figure some things out. After she hung up, Sophia stood at her window, staring down at the SUV that was still parked below. The man was still there, a silent sentinel. She felt trapped, watched, like her life was no longer her own. Her phone buzzed. Dominic again. Please let me explain in person. I'm downstairs. She looked down and saw him standing next to the SUV, looking up at her building. Even from this distance, she could see the tension in his shoulders, the worry on his face. Against every instinct screaming at her to stay inside, to stay safe, she grabbed her keys and went down. He met her at the building entrance, and up close, she could see he hadn't slept either. His suit was rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. You had no right, she said before he could speak. No right to put someone in my life without telling me. No right to watch me. You're right. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it, Dominic. You brought danger to my door, to Emma's door. I know, and I'm going to fix it. How? How do you fix this? He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she remembered from years ago. The man who's causing problems. His name is Victor Castellano. He ran operations for my father in the Pacific Northwest. When I took over, I told him we were going legitimate, that the drug trafficking, the protection rackets, all of it was ending. He didn't take it well. So he's what? Coming after you? He's trying to force my hand, to make me look weak, so the other families will question my leadership. If he can prove I'm not willing to do what's necessary, they'll move against me. And I'm leverage. You're someone I care about. That makes you a target. Sophia felt sick. I can't do this. I can't live like this, looking over my shoulder, wondering if someone's going to hurt Emma to get to you. They won't. I won't let them. You can't promise that. No, he admitted. But I can promise I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe, both of you. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the truth in his eyes. He meant it, but meaning it and being able to deliver were two different things. Tell me about Victor, she said. Everything. They walked to a nearby coffee shop, not the one where she worked, somewhere neutral, and sat in a back corner. Dominic ordered black coffee he didn't drink and told her everything. Victor Castellano was old-school Mafia, a man who'd risen through the ranks by being ruthless and efficient. He'd been loyal to Dominic's father for 30 years, had helped build the Russo empire from the ground up. When Dominic announced his plans to go legitimate, Victor saw it as a betrayal of everything they'd worked for. He's been sabotaging me for months, Dominic said. Small things at first, deals falling through, shipments going missing. But last night he made a move on one of our warehouses in northwest Portland. Burned it to the ground. 3 people died. Sophia's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. I can't let it stand. If I do, every other family will see me as weak, and the whole thing falls apart. But if I retaliate the way my father would have, with violence, with blood, then I'm just perpetuating the cycle. I become the thing I'm trying to escape. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I need to do it fast before Victor makes another move. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of it all pressing down. Finally, Sophia said, Why me? Out of everyone in the world, why did you have to come back into my life now? Because you're the only thing that's ever made sense to me, the only thing that felt real. He reached across the table and took her hand, and she let him, too tired to pull away. When I was in Chicago, doing things I'm not proud of, becoming someone I didn't recognize, I'd think about you, about that summer we had. About how you made me feel like I could be better than what I was born into. I can't save you, Dominic. I can barely save myself. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm just asking you not to give up on me yet." She pulled her hand away. "I have to think about Emma. She's my priority, not you. I understand. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've dragged us into a war we didn't ask for. You're right, and I'll fix it. I promise." Sophia stood up. "I need to go. I need to pick up Emma from school. Let me send someone with you, just as a precaution. No more of your people following me around. Sophia, I mean it, Dominic. If you want any chance of me not walking away permanently, you give me space. You let me live my life without your shadow over it." He looked like he wanted to argue, but finally he nodded. "Okay, but please, be careful. And if anything feels off, anything at all, you call me immediately." She left without promising anything. The next few days passed in a haze of anxiety. Sophia went to work, picked up Emma from school, did her bookkeeping in the evenings. She didn't see Marcus. He'd stopped showing up for shifts, and she didn't hear from Dominic. The SUV disappeared from outside her building, and slowly, she started to believe that maybe it was over, that maybe he'd decided to leave her alone. Then, on Friday evening, Emma asked if they could go to Powell's. "Please, Mom. I finished all my homework, and I want to get the next book in my series." Sophia hesitated. Powell's felt tainted now, connected to Dominic, but she couldn't let him take this from them, couldn't let fear dictate their lives. "Okay," she said. "Let's go." They took the bus downtown, Emma chattering excitedly about her book series, about the characters and plot twists. Sophia listened with half her attention, the other half scanning the other passengers, the streets, looking for threats she wouldn't recognize even if she saw them. Powell's was crowded with the Friday evening rush. They made their way to the children's section, and Emma immediately dove into the shelves, searching for her book. Sophia stood nearby, watching her daughter, feeling a fierce surge of protective love. "She's beautiful." Sophia spun around. A man stood behind her, older, maybe 60, with silver hair and cold eyes. He wore an expensive coat and smiled at her, but there was nothing warm in it. "Excuse me?" Sophia said, her heart starting to race. "Your daughter. She's beautiful. You must be very proud." Every instinct screamed danger. "I don't know you." "No, but I know you. Sophia Martinez, age 32, works at a coffee shop and does bookkeeping on the side. Lives in the Pearl District with her daughter Emma, age 9. No husband, no family nearby. Very vulnerable." Sophia's blood turned to ice. She looked around frantically for help, but the bookstore was crowded, noisy, full of people who wouldn't notice anything wrong until it was too late. "What do you want?" she whispered. "I want you to give Dominic Russo a message. Tell him that Victor Castellano sends his regards. And tell him that if he doesn't back down, if he continues with his foolish plan to go legitimate, then the people he cares about will pay the price." The man's smile widened. "Starting with you and that lovely little girl." Emma appeared at Sophia's side, clutching her book. "Mom, I found it. Can we get it?" The man looked down at Emma, and Sophia moved instinctively, putting herself between them. "We're leaving," she said, her voice shaking. "Now." She grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her toward the exit, not caring about the book, not caring about anything except getting her daughter to safety. Behind her, she heard the man laugh. Outside, Sophia's hand shook so badly she could barely get her phone out. She called Dominic, and he answered on the first ring. "He approached me," she said without preamble. "Victor. He was at Powell's. He threatened Emma. Where are you now?" "Outside the bookstore." "We're okay, but Dominic, he knew everything. Where we live, where I work, Emma's name. Stay there. I'm 5 minutes away. Don't move. Don't go anywhere. I'm coming." She hung up and pulled Emma close, scanning the street for the silver-haired man. People flowed past them, oblivious, and Sophia had never felt more alone. True to his word, Dominic arrived in less than 5 minutes, the black Mercedes screeching to a stop at the curb. He jumped out, his face a mask of fury and fear, and for a moment, Sophia saw the dangerous man he'd become, the one who'd survived in a world of violence. "Get in," he said, opening the back door. Sophia hesitated, then looked down at Emma, who was watching everything with wide, frightened eyes. She'd spent 10 years trying to keep her daughter safe, trying to give her a normal life, and in 1 week, Dominic had shattered all of it. But right now, he was the only option she had. She got in the car, pulling Emma with her, and Dominic drove. Dominic drove them to a hotel in Northwest Portland. Not one of the big chains downtown, but a smaller boutique place tucked away on a quiet street. He parked in the underground garage and led them to a suite on the top floor, checking every corner before letting them inside. The suite was nice, too nice for Sophia's comfort. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, and the furniture looked like it cost more than her monthly rent. Emma immediately gravitated to the window, pressing her face against the glass. "Wow," she breathed. "You can see everything from here." Sophia pulled her daughter away from the window. "Emma, come sit down." "But Mom, now." Something in Sophia's tone made Emma obey. She sat on the couch, her earlier excitement fading into confusion and fear. "Mom, what's going on? Who was that man at the bookstore?" Before Sophia could answer, Dominic knelt down in front of Emma, putting himself at her eye level. "Hi, Emma. My name is Dominic. I'm a friend of your mom's." Emma looked at him with those serious dark eyes. "Are you the reason that man scared us?" Dominic flinched. "Yes, I am. And I'm very sorry about that. Are you going to make him stop?" "Yes." "Promise?" He looked at Emma, and Sophia saw something crack in his expression. Pain, regret, determination. "I promise." Emma seemed satisfied with that. She turned to Sophia. "Can I watch TV?" Sophia nodded, too drained to argue. She found the remote and put on a cartoon, then followed Dominic to the far side of the suite, out of Emma's earshot. "I'm taking care of this tonight," Dominic said quietly. Victor crossed a line. He threatened a child. That's not something anyone in our world tolerates, no matter what side they're on. What does taking care of it mean? It means I'm going to end this. Permanently. Sophia felt sick. "You're going to kill him. I'm going to do what's necessary to keep you and Emma safe." "No." She grabbed his arm. "No, Dominic. You can't. If you do this, if you kill him, you become exactly what you're trying to escape. You prove him right. That you're just another thug, another criminal. He threatened your daughter. I know. And I'm terrified and I'm angry, but killing him isn't the answer. There has to be another way." "There isn't." "Then find one." Her voice rose, and she forced herself to lower it, glancing at Emma, who was absorbed in her cartoon. "You said you wanted to be better than what you were born into. Prove it. Find a way to stop him without becoming him." Dominic pulled away from her, pacing to the window. His reflection in the glass looked haunted. "You don't understand what you're asking. In my world, weakness gets you killed. If I don't respond to this with strength, every other family will see it as an invitation to move against me. The Russos will be finished. Then maybe the Russos should be finished. Maybe that's the price of going legitimate." He turned to face her, and the anguish in his eyes nearly broke her heart. "If I walk away, if I dismantle everything my father built, there are hundreds of people who depend on us for their livelihoods. Legitimate businesses, employees, families. I can't just burn it all down." "So you're trapped?" "Yes." They stood in silence, the weight of impossible choices pressing down on them both. Finally, Sophia said, "Tell me about your brother, the one who was killed." Dominic's face went blank. "Why?" "Because I need to understand. I need to know what happened to you. What made you into this?" He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, slowly, he moved to the couch and sat down, his elbows on his knees, his head in his hands. His name was Anthony. Tony. He was 5 years older than me, and he was everything my father wanted in a son. Strong, ruthless, loyal. I was the spare, the one who got to go to college, who got to pretend we were a normal family. His voice was hollow. Tony was killed in a hit organized by the Castellano family, Victor's cousins based in New York. It was retaliation for something my father had done. Some business deal gone wrong. They shot him outside his apartment in Chicago. 27 bullets. Sophia's hand flew to her mouth. I was at Portland State when I got the call. My father was destroyed. He'd lost his heir, his legacy, and he told me I had to come home, that I had to take Tony's place. I said no at first. I told him I had a life in Portland, that I had you, that I wasn't going to throw it all away. He looked up at her, and his eyes were wet. He said if I didn't come home, he'd make sure you paid the price for my disobedience. He'd have you hurt, maybe killed, just to teach me a lesson about loyalty. Sophia felt like she'd been punched. So you left to protect me. I left because I was a coward, because I chose my father's approval over your safety. I should have told you, should have warned you, should have found a way to keep you out of it. But I was 22, and scared, and I made the wrong choice. You made the only choice you could. No, there's always a choice. I just picked the easy one. Sophia sat down next to him, close but not touching. What happened after you went back? I learned the family business. My father put me through what he called training, which meant I had to prove I could be as ruthless as Tony had been. I had to make collections, enforce debts, hurt people who crossed us. And I did it, because the alternative was watching my father destroy everything, including himself. He laughed bitterly. I became good at it, too good. By the time my father died, I'd been his right hand for 8 years. I'd done things I can never take back, hurt people who didn't deserve it, all in the name of family loyalty. But you're trying to change now. I'm trying, but every day I feel like I'm drowning, like the weight of everything I've done is pulling me under, and I can't breathe. Sophia reached out and took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, desperate, clinging. You're not drowning. You're here. You're fighting. I don't know if it's enough. It has to be. They sat like that for a long time, hands linked, while Emma watched her cartoon and the city lights sparkled below. Finally, Dominic said, I have an idea. It's risky, and it might not work, but it's better than killing Victor. Tell me. Victor's power comes from the old families, the ones who still profit from illegal operations. If I can expose him, show them that he's been skimming money, betraying their trust, they'll turn on him. He'll be finished without me having to lift a finger. Can you prove he's been stealing? I have accountants, forensic specialists. If the evidence is there, they'll find it. He looked at her. But it'll take time. A few days, maybe a week. And during that time, you and Emma need to stay here, where I can keep you safe. We can't just hide. You can, and you will. Please, Sophia, let me do this. Let me protect you the right way. She wanted to argue, wanted to insist that she could take care of herself and Emma. But the truth was, she was terrified. That man at Powell's, Victor, had known everything about them, had threatened her daughter. And Sophia didn't have the resources or the knowledge to fight back against someone like that. Okay, she said finally, but only until you fix this. Then we go back to our lives, and you stay out of them, if that's what you want. It is. He nodded, but she could see the hurt in his eyes. I'll have clothes and supplies brought up for you and Emma. Anything you need, just ask. Thank you. He stood to leave, but Sophia stopped him. Dominic, why didn't you ever try to contact me? In all those years, you could have called, sent a letter, something, because I was ashamed, because I didn't want you to see what I'd become, and because, he trailed off, then finished quietly, because I was afraid that if I heard your voice, I wouldn't be able to stay away, and that would have put you in danger. So you suffered alone. I deserved to. No one deserves that. He looked at her for a long moment, and she saw the boy he'd been, vulnerable, hopeful, full of dreams. Then he turned and left, and the door closed behind him with a soft click. Sophia went to Emma, who had fallen asleep on the couch, her head pillowed on her arm. She looked so small, so innocent. Sophia brushed the hair from her daughter's face and felt a surge of fierce protective love. I won't let anything happen to you, she whispered. I promise. She carried Emma to one of the bedrooms and tucked her in, then returned to the living area. Through the windows, Portland stretched out below, her city, her home. Somewhere out there, Dominic was fighting a war she barely understood, trying to become someone better while the weight of his past dragged him down, and she was caught in the middle, unable to walk away, unable to fully commit, suspended in a limbo of fear and longing. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You made a mistake getting involved with Dominic Russo. He can't protect you. No one can. Sophia's hands shook as she read the message. She wanted to throw the phone across the room, wanted to scream, wanted to wake up and discover this was all a nightmare. Instead, she took a screenshot of the message and forwarded it to Dominic. Then she locked the door, checked it twice, and sat in the darkness, watching the city and waiting for dawn. The next morning, Dominic returned with a woman named Angela, a lawyer, he explained, who specialized in witness protection and security cases. Angela was in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor that Sophia found oddly comforting. I've reviewed your situation, Angela said, sitting across from Sophia at the suite's dining table. And I have to be honest with you. This is serious. Victor Castellano has a long history of violence, and he's not going to stop just because Dominic asks nicely. I know. But there are options. Legal options. If you're willing to cooperate with federal authorities, we can put you and your daughter into protective custody. You'd have to testify against Dominic and his organization, but in exchange, you'd be safe. Sophia looked at Dominic, who stood by the window, his face unreadable. You want me to turn on you. I want you to be safe, he said. Whatever that takes. If I testify, what happens to you? Angela answered. Dominic would likely face charges for racketeering, money laundering, possibly more depending on what evidence the feds have. He'd be looking at significant prison time. No. Sophia shook her head. I'm not doing that. Sophia, Dominic started. I said no. I'm not sending you to prison. Why not? Angela asked. He's a criminal. He's admitted as much. Because he's trying to change. Because he's the reason I'm in this mess. But he's also the only reason Emma and I are still safe. I'm not going to betray him. Angela looked at Dominic. She's loyal. That's rare. She's stubborn, Dominic corrected, but there was warmth in his voice. So what's the alternative? Sophia asked. We wait, Dominic said. My people are going through Victor's financial records right now. If we can find proof he's been stealing from the other families, we can turn them against him. It's not as clean as federal prosecution, but it'll work. And if you don't find anything, then we go to plan B, which is, you don't want to know. They spent the next 3 days in the hotel suite. Dominic came and went, bringing food, updates, reassurances. Emma seemed to think it was an adventure at first. Room service, a big TV, a view of the city. But by the 3rd day, she was restless, asking when they could go home, why they had to stay here. Sophia didn't have good answers. On the 4th night, Dominic arrived with news. We found it. Victor's been skimming for years, millions of dollars, hidden in offshore accounts. He's been betraying the families he claims to serve. So what happens now? Now I call a meeting. I present the evidence to the other bosses, and I let them decide Victor's fate. Will they kill him? Probably. Sophia felt sick, but she nodded. When? Tomorrow night. And after that, you and Emma can go home. This will be over. Promise? He pulled her into his arms, and she let herself lean into him, just for a moment, drawing strength from his solid presence. I promise. The next day crawled by. Sophia tried to keep Emma entertained, but her own anxiety made it difficult. She kept checking her phone, waiting for word from Dominic, imagining all the ways things could go wrong. Finally, at 8 o'clock, her phone rang. It's done, Dominic said. His voice sounded tired, hollow. Victor's been dealt with. You're safe. What does dealt with mean? It means he's no longer a threat. That's all you need to know. Sophia closed her eyes, relief and guilt warring inside her. Okay, I'm coming to get you. We'll take you home. Dominic, thank you. Don't thank me. This is my fault. No, you fixed it. That counts for something. An hour later, they were back in Sophia's apartment. Emma ran to her room, thrilled to be home, while Sophia stood in the living room, looking around at the familiar space. It felt different now, tainted by everything that had happened. Dominic stood in the doorway, not quite entering. I meant what I said. You're safe now. Victor's gone, and I've made it clear to everyone in my organization that you and Emma are off limits. No one will touch you. What about you? Sophia asked. Are you safe? I'm always in danger. That's the life I chose. You didn't choose it. Your father forced it on you. Maybe, but I stayed. That was my choice. They looked at each other across the small space, and Sophia felt the pull of everything unspoken between them. The past, the present, the impossible future. I should go, Dominic said. Yeah, but neither of them moved. Finally, Sophia crossed the room and kissed him. It was desperate and fierce and full of 10 years of longing and regret. He kissed her back, his hands tangling in her hair, and for a moment, the world fell away. When they broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. I can't do this, Sophia whispered. I can't be with you. It's too dangerous, too complicated. I know, but I can't stop thinking about you. I know that too. She rested her forehead against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. What are we going to do? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Together. It wasn't a promise. It wasn't a solution. But for now, it was enough. 3 weeks passed in an uneasy peace. Sophia returned to her routine. Work, Emma, bookkeeping. But everything felt different now. charged with an awareness she couldn't shake. Dominic kept his distance, true to his word, but he texted her every day. Small things. Good morning. Thinking of you. Stay safe. She told herself not to respond, but she always did. Emma asked about him once. Is Dominic your boyfriend? No, baby. He's just a friend. But you like him. Sophia couldn't lie to her daughter. Yeah, I do. Then why can't he be your boyfriend? Because it's complicated. Emma rolled her eyes with the exasperation only a 9-year-old could muster. Adults always say that. Marcus, the real Marcus, not the one who'd been spying on her, had been replaced at the coffee shop by a college student named Jenny. Sophia didn't ask what happened to him. Didn't want to know. Some doors were better left closed. On a gray Tuesday morning, as Sophia was wiping down tables before opening, her phone rang. Dominic, can you meet me? He asked without preamble. It's important. When? Now. I'm outside. She looked through the window and saw the black Mercedes parked at the curb. I'm working. Please, it won't take long. Something in his voice made her agree. She told Jenny she'd be back in 15 minutes, then went outside. Dominic was leaning against the car, and even from a distance, she could see the tension in his shoulders. What's wrong? She asked. Get in. I'll explain on the way. They drove through the morning traffic, heading west toward the hills. Dominic didn't speak, his jaw tight, his hands gripping the steering wheel. Sophia waited, her anxiety growing with each passing mile. Finally, they pulled into a parking lot overlooking the city. From here, Portland spread out below them, the Willamette River cutting through the center, the bridges like stitches holding it together, the mountains rising in the distance. I'm leaving, Dominic said, going back to Chicago. Sophia felt like she'd been punched. What? Why? Because I can't do this anymore. I thought I could transition everything to legitimate operations, thought I could walk away clean, but I can't. There are too many people who depend on the old ways, too much money at stake. Every day, I'm making compromises, bending rules, doing things that make me hate myself. So you're giving up. I'm choosing my battles. I can't change the whole organization, but I can make sure the Chicago operations go clean. That's where most of our legitimate businesses are anyway. Real estate, restaurants, construction. I can build something real there. And Portland. I'm selling our interests here. The new owners will be legitimate business people. No ties to organized crime. It's the best I can do. Sophia stared out at the city, feeling something crack inside her. When do you leave? End of the week. That's 3 days. I know. Were you even going to tell me? Or were you just going to disappear again? Of course I was going to tell you. That's why I'm here. She turned to face him, anger and hurt warring in her chest. You're a coward, you know that? You run every time things get hard. You ran 10 years ago, and you're running now. I'm not running. I'm making a choice. It's the same thing. No, it's not. 10 years ago I left because I was scared and didn't know what else to do. Now I'm leaving because I know that if I stay, I'll drag you deeper into my world. And I won't do that to you. I won't do that to Emma. So you're making the decision for me. Yes. That's not fair. No, it's not. But it's right. They sat in silence, the weight of it crushing. Finally, Sophia said, What if I asked you to stay? Don't. What if I told you I've been falling for you again, that these past few weeks have been the happiest I've been in years, even with all the danger and chaos? Sophia, what if I said I don't care about your past, about what you've done, that I just want a chance to see if we can make this work? He closed his eyes, and she saw the pain etched in every line of his face. Then I'd say you deserve better than me. You deserve someone who can give you a normal life, who doesn't come with a target on his back. You deserve someone who can be a father to Emma, who can show up to school plays and soccer games without worrying about who's watching. Maybe I don't want normal. Maybe I want you. You don't mean that. Yes, I do. He opened his eyes and looked at her, and the longing there nearly broke her. If I stay, I'll ruin your life. I'll ruin Emma's life. I'm poison, Sophia. Everything I touch turns to ash. That's not true. It is. You've seen it. Victor, the threats, the danger, that's my world. And it doesn't matter how much I want to change, how hard I try to go legitimate. The past always catches up. Sophia reached out and took his hand. Then let me help you. Let me be part of your life, for real this time. Not hiding, not pretending, but actually together. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. He pulled his hand away, and the rejection stung. No, I won't let you sacrifice yourself for me. It's not a sacrifice if it's what I want. You don't know what you want. You're caught up in the drama, the intensity. But that fades, Sophia. And when it does, you'll be stuck with a man who has blood on his hands and enemies around every corner. She felt tears burning in her eyes. So that's it? You're just going to leave? Yes. And what am I supposed to do? Just forget about you again? You did it once. You can do it again. The words were cruel, and they both knew it. Sophia turned away, staring out at the city through blurred vision. Take me back to work. Sophia. Now, please. The drive back was silent. When they pulled up in front of the coffee shop, Sophia got out without looking at him. But before she closed the door, she said, You're wrong, you know. About being poison. You saved my life. You saved Emma's life. That counts for something. Not enough. She slammed the door and walked into the coffee shop without looking back. The next 3 days were torture. Sophia threw herself into work, into taking care of Emma, into anything that would keep her from thinking about Dominic. But at night, alone in her bed, she couldn't stop the thoughts from coming. She'd finally let herself hope, let herself imagine a future that included him, and now he was ripping it away. On Thursday evening, Emma was at a friend's house for a sleepover, and Sophia found herself with a rare night alone. She poured a glass of wine, put on music, and tried to read, but the words swam on the page, meaningless. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dominic. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, early. I wanted to say goodbye. She stared at the message, her heart racing. Then, before she could talk herself out of it, she typed back, Come over. 20 minutes later, there was a knock on her door. She opened it to find Dominic standing there, looking as wrecked as she felt. Hi, he said. Hi. They stood there for a moment, and then Sophia stepped aside. Come in. He entered slowly, looking around the apartment as if seeing it for the first time. It's nice, cozy. It's small. It's home. She closed the door and leaned against it. Why did you really come here? To Portland, I mean. It wasn't just business, was it? He turned to face her. No, I came because I needed to see you. I needed to know if what I remembered was real, or if I'd built you up in my head into something you weren't. And you're more than I remembered. Stronger, braver, more beautiful, and that makes leaving so much harder. Sophia crossed the room and stood in front of him. Then don't leave. Stay. Fight for this. Fight for us. I can't. Why not? Because I'm scared. The admission seemed to cost him. I'm scared that if I stay, I'll destroy you. That my past will catch up and you'll pay the price. I've already lost so much. My brother, my father, any chance at a normal life. I can't lose you too. And the only way to keep you safe is to stay away. That's not your decision to make. Yes, it is. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Listen to me. I'm not some fragile thing that needs protecting. I'm a single mother who's been taking care of herself and her daughter for 9 years. I've survived poverty, loneliness, heartbreak. I'm stronger than you think. And if I say I want to take this risk, if I say I want to be with you despite the danger, then you need to respect that. Sophia, I love you. The words came out in a rush, surprising them both. I loved you 10 years ago, and I think I've loved you every day since, even when I was trying to hate you. And I know it's crazy, and I know it's dangerous, but I don't care. I want to be with you. I want to try. He stared at her, and she saw the moment he broke. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her with a desperation that matched her own. They stumbled backward, knocking into furniture, pulling at clothes, 10 years of longing and regret pouring out in frantic touches. They made it to her bedroom, and for a few hours, the world outside ceased to exist. There was only them, skin against skin, whispered promises and gasped names. It was messy and intense and perfect. Afterward, they lay tangled together in her small bed, the city lights filtering through the curtains. Dominic traced patterns on her shoulder, and Sophia felt more at peace than she had in years. I'm still leaving tomorrow, he said quietly. The peace shattered. What? I have to. There are things in Chicago I need to take care of, loose ends I need to tie up. But he propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at her. Come with me. You and Emma. Move to Chicago. Sophia sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. You're asking me to uproot my entire life? I'm asking you to start a new one, with me. Emma's in school. She has friends here. This is her home. Chicago has schools. She'll make new friends. And I can give you both a better life, a real house, financial security, everything you've been struggling for. I don't want your money, Dominic. I know, but I want to give it to you anyway. I want to take care of you. Both of you. Sophia climbed out of bed and pulled on her robe, needing distance to think. This is crazy. We've been back in each other's lives for less than a month. You're asking me to move across the country to introduce you to my daughter as what? Her new stepfather. Eventually, yes. You're insane. Probably. He got up and came to her, wrapping his arms around her from behind. But I'm also serious. I love you, Sophia. I've loved you for 10 years, and I don't want to waste any more time. She leaned back against him, feeling the solid warmth of his body. What if it doesn't work? What if we get to Chicago and realize we've made a huge mistake? Then we figure it out. Together. What about your world? The danger? I'll keep you safe. I swear it. She turned in his arms, looking up at him. I need time to think about this. To talk to Emma. Okay. But Sophia? I'm leaving tomorrow morning, and I really hope you're coming with me. He left before dawn, and Sophia lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. Everything he'd said made sense in a crazy, reckless kind of way, but it was also terrifying. She'd built a life here, modest as it was. Could she really throw it all away for a man she'd only just reconnected with? When Emma came home from her sleepover, Sophia sat her down at the kitchen table. Baby, I need to talk to you about something important. Emma's eyes went wide. Are we in trouble again? No, nothing like that. It's about Dominic. Your friend. Yeah. He's asked us to move to Chicago with him. Emma's mouth fell open. Like, leave Portland? Yes. Forever? Maybe. I don't know yet. Emma was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then she said, You love him? Question caught Sophia off guard. Yes, I do. Does he love you? He says he does. Does he love me? Sophia's heart clenched. He doesn't know you yet, baby. But I think he wants to. Emma nodded slowly. Would we have to leave my school? My friends? Yes. That would be sad. I know. But Emma looked up at her with those serious eyes. You've been happier lately. Since Dominic came back. You smile more. Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. Have I? Yeah. And I like it when you're happy, Mom. You work so hard, and you're always worried about money and stuff. Maybe in Chicago, you wouldn't have to worry so much. Maybe. Emma reached across the table and took Sophia's hand. I think we should go. Really? Yeah. It'll be an adventure. And if it doesn't work out, we can always come back, right? Sophia pulled her daughter into a hug, overwhelmed by her wisdom and bravery. Right. We can always come back. That afternoon, Sophia called Dominic. Okay. We'll come to Chicago, but we need a few weeks to wrap things up here. Give notice at work, finish out Emma's school term, pack. Take all the time you need. I'll get everything ready on this end. Find you a place to live, enroll Emma in school, whatever you need. Dominic? Yeah? Don't make me regret this. I won't. I promise. After she hung up, Sophia looked around her small apartment, the place that had been her refuge, her sanctuary. She felt a pang of loss, but also a flutter of excitement. Maybe this was crazy. Maybe it would all fall apart. But maybe, just maybe, it would be the beginning of something real. The flight to Chicago was Emma's first time on a plane. She pressed her face against the window during takeoff, watching Portland shrink below them until it was just a patchwork of gray and green. Sophia held her hand, feeling the weight of what they were leaving behind and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Dominic met them at O'Hare Airport, and seeing him there, waiting with a sign that read, Martinez family, made something in Sophia's chest loosen. He'd kept his promise. He was here. Emma ran to him, and he scooped her up, spinning her around. Welcome to Chicago. It's so big, Emma said, her eyes wide as they walked through the terminal. Wait until you see the city. It's even bigger. He'd rented them a house in Lincoln Park, a beautiful 3-bedroom with a backyard and a view of the park. It was more space than Sophia had ever lived in, and she felt overwhelmed by the generosity of it. This is too much, she said, as Dominic showed them around. It's not enough. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead. I want you to be comfortable. Both of you. Emma had already claimed the bedroom with the window seat, and Sophia could hear her unpacking, chattering to herself. Dominic led Sophia to the master bedroom, which had a king-sized bed, and an ensuite bathroom with a clawfoot tub. I could get used to this, Sophia admitted. Good, because I plan on spoiling you. The first few weeks were an adjustment. Emma started at a new school, and while she was nervous at first, she quickly made friends. Sophia found work at a local bookstore. Nothing glamorous, but something that made her happy. And Dominic was trying. He'd meant what he said about going legitimate. His days were filled with meetings with lawyers, accountants, business partners. He was systematically dismantling the illegal operations, paying off debts, cutting ties with anyone who wouldn't follow him into legitimacy. It was slow, dangerous work, and there were nights he came home exhausted, the weight of it all pressing down on him, but he never took it out on them. With Sophia and Emma, he was patient, kind, present. He helped Emma with her homework, took them to Navy Pier and the Art Institute, taught Emma how to ride a bike in the park. Slowly, carefully, they built something that looked like a family. 3 months after they arrived, Dominic proposed. It was nothing fancy, just the 3 of them in the backyard, Emma playing with the neighbor's dog while Sophia and Dominic sat on the porch swing. He pulled out a simple diamond ring and said, "I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out, but I don't want to wait anymore. Marry me, Sophia. Let me be your husband. Let me be Emma's father." Sophia looked at the ring, then at him, then at Emma, who was laughing as the dog licked her face. This was her life now. This strange, unexpected, beautiful life. "Yes," he said. "Yes, I'll marry you." They were married 6 months later, in a small ceremony at a church in Lincoln Park. Emma was the flower girl, wearing a white dress and carrying a basket of roses. Rachel flew in from Portland to be Sophia's maid of honor, and a handful of Dominic's business associates attended, along with Angela, the lawyer who'd helped them through the Victor situation. As Sophia walked down the aisle, she thought about all the twists and turns that had brought her here. The heartbreak, the struggle, the fear, but also the love, the hope, the second chances. Dominic waited for her at the altar, and when their eyes met, she saw everything she needed to know. He was hers, and she was his, and they were going to make this work. The reception was held at a restaurant Dominic owned, one of his legitimate businesses, a beautiful Italian place with exposed brick and string lights. They danced, ate, laughed. Emma gave a toast that made everyone cry, talking about how happy her mom was now, how Dominic had made their family complete. Late in the evening, Sophia and Dominic snuck away to the restaurant's rooftop, looking out at the Chicago skyline. The city glittered below them, alive and vibrant. "Do you ever regret it?" Dominic asked. "Leaving Portland, taking a chance on me?" "Every day," Sophia said, and when he looked stricken, she laughed. "I'm kidding. No, I don't regret it. This is the happiest I've ever been. Even with all the chaos, the adjustments, especially with the chaos. It means we're living, really living, not just surviving." He pulled her close, and they swayed to the distant sound of music from below. "I love you, Sophia Russo. I love you too." A year later, Sophia stood in the backyard of their Lincoln Park house, watching Emma play soccer with a group of neighborhood kids. She was 11 now, taller, more confident. She called Dominic Dad without hesitation, and he doted on her like she was his own. Sophia's hand drifted to her stomach, where a new life was growing. She hadn't told Dominic yet, wanted to wait for the right moment, but soon their family would grow by one more. Dominic came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about? How lucky we are. We are lucky, but we also fought for this. We chose this." "You're right." She turned in his arms, looking up at him. "I have something to tell you." "What?" "I'm pregnant." His face went through a series of expressions. Shock, joy, fear, wonder. Then he picked her up and spun her around, laughing. "Are you serious?" "Yes." "We're having a baby?" "We're having a baby." He set her down gently, his hands cradling her face. "I'm going to be a father. A real father." "You already are." To Emma. "I know, but this is different. This is ours. Emma's ours too." "You're right. She is." He kissed her, soft and sweet. "Thank you for giving me this, for giving me everything. Thank you for not giving up on us." They stood there in the backyard, holding each other while Emma played, and the Chicago sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. It wasn't the life Sophia had imagined for herself all those years ago. It was better, because it was real. It was earned. It was theirs. And as she looked at her family, at Emma laughing with her friends, at Dominic's hand on her stomach, at the home they'd built together, Sophia knew that every choice, every risk, every moment of fear had been worth it. They'd found their way back to each other, and this time, they weren't letting go. Epilogue. 5 years later, Sophia stood in the kitchen of their Lincoln Park home, making breakfast while chaos reigned around her. Emma, now 16, was arguing with her younger brother, Marco, about whose turn it was to walk the dog. Their daughter, Lucia, age 3, was singing at the top of her lungs while coloring at the kitchen table. Dominic came downstairs, his tie askew, looking harried. "Has anyone seen my briefcase?" "Living room," Sophia said without looking up from the pancakes she was flipping. "Under the couch." "How do you always know?" "Because I'm magic." He kissed her cheek, then went to break up the argument between Emma and Marco. Sophia watched him, this man who'd once been a stranger, then a memory, then a miracle. He'd kept his promise, had gone fully legitimate, had built a business empire that was clean and legal. It hadn't been easy, and there were still people from his past who resented him for it, but he'd done it. Emma came into the kitchen, rolling her eyes. "Marco is so annoying. He's your brother. It's his job to be annoying. Can I go to Portland this summer to visit Rachel and my old friends?" Sophia smiled. They went back to Portland every year, and every time Sophia felt a pang of nostalgia for the city that had shaped her. But it wasn't home anymore. Home was here, in this chaotic, beautiful house with this chaotic, beautiful family. "We'll see. Talk to your dad." Dominic returned, briefcase in hand, and scooped up Lucia, who shrieked with delight. "Daddy, I made you a picture. It's beautiful, princess. I'll hang it in my office." He set her down and came to Sophia, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "How did we get so lucky?" "I ask myself that every day. I love you. I love you too." The morning continued in its beautiful chaos. Breakfast, backpacks, last-minute homework checks, kisses goodbye. And as Sophia watched her family head out into the world, she thought about that night at the restaurant in Portland, when Dominic had walked back into her life. She'd been so scared then, so uncertain, but she'd taken the leap anyway, and it had been the best decision she'd ever made. If you enjoyed this story, I'd love to hear from you. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and leave a comment telling me what you thought. What was your favorite moment? Which character resonated with you most? And don't forget to let me know where in the world you're listening from. I love connecting with listeners from all corners of the globe. Your support means everything, and it helps me continue bringing you stories that touch the heart. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.